Hi there. Today is September 6th, which is an anniversary for me of sorts. 5 years ago today, I was in the hospital and almost died. I had a routine surgery and ended up with something called necrotizing fasciitis, which is a fancy word for flesh-eating bacteria. Woke up a couple days later in the ICU with a hole in my belly. Literally a hole down to my muscle and the viscera of my belly. So spent 6 weeks in the hospital and then another 9 months off work, trying to get that wound to close. And then because of that disease, I ended up with a hernia, which I've now lived with for 5 years. So just reflecting though on everything that's happened in the last 5 years and the struggles that I've had and phases that I've gone through, questioning God, being angry, pity parties, all that. You know what I'm talking about. And I just want to encourage you today that if you've been through something and it becomes your identity, when you've been through something, sometimes for a little while, it can become your identity. It can become something that defines you. I'm disabled. I have a hernia. I can't do things. I can't do this. I can't do that. And instead of wallowing in that or focusing on that and defining myself by that, what I'm trying to do to promote that healing that I so desperately need and desire is not focus on that, not define myself by that, but define myself by who I am. Who I am I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a child of God, I'm a daughter of God, I'm loved by the Creator of the universe, and I am more than my disability, more than what has happened to me. And I want to encourage all of you to begin to see that as well. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus was on his way to pray for a young girl that was sick, and he was surrounded by crowds of people, and there was a woman there in the crowd who had been for years, I think she had been afflicted with something called an issue of blood. They called it an issue of blood in the Bible. Basically, it was a bleeding disorder of some kind. Who knows? Maybe she might have had a fibroid, a uterine fibroid. She may have had any number of things. At any rate, in this society at that time, by the Jews, she was considered unclean. And it would have been a death penalty thing for her to touch a rabbi like Jesus. And yet she knew that her only chance, she'd tried doctors, she'd tried everything. She spent all her money trying to get healing. And she knew her only chance for healing was to see Jesus and was to touch Jesus. And so she crawled through the crowd, and I imagine her crawling on her hands and knees through the dirt and the animal dung and everything, just to touch the hem of his robe, just to touch one of the tassels on the end of his robe. And as soon as she did, she knew that she would be healed. And as soon as she did, Jesus knew that someone had touched him, and he felt that healing power go from him. And he asked the disciples, "Who touched me?" And of course, everyone was touching him. There was a crowd of people. Well, instead of running away or shying back, this woman, she fessed up to it. She said, it was me. I knew I've had this illness for all these years, and I went to doctors and spent all my money, but I knew if I could just touch the hem of your garment that I would be healed. And Jesus, instead of turning away from her or calling her unclean, shying away from her like the other Jews would have done, he called her daughter. He lifted her head and he called her daughter. And instead of her being defined at that moment by the illness she had, that she'd had for years, way longer than I've had my hernia, she was defined by the fact that she was his daughter, that she was God's daughter. And he lifted her head and he said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you." And just wanted to share that story about how powerful it is when we consider who we are and we get our identity from our Creator, or we get our identity from, who we are to the people that we love in our lives, the people that are in our lives that love us. Don't let your identity become what happened to you. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you today. I hope that helps somebody. And if anyone needs encouragement or prayer or anything, please ask in the comments, and I will be happy to talk. I will be happy to pray, and I will be happy to do anything for you that you ask. So please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.